Disney is making a move no one saw coming. Massive hotel discounts across Walt Disney World for nearly 7 months in 2026. We are talking up to 50% off some of their most expensive resorts, including the Grand Floridian. But here's the shocking part. This is not generosity, it is desperation. Crowds are vanishing, attendance is collapsing, and the parks are emptier than we have seen since the pandemic. Entire walkways are blocked by construction walls, rides have no waits, and even spring break, Disney's busiest season, is now wrapped into the discount window. So what does this really mean for Disney's future? And why are they slashing prices like never before? Let's break it down. Disney is pulling a move that has caught everyone off guard. Massive hotel discounts across Walt Disney World for much of 2026. We are talking about nearly half the year where families could snag up to 50% off resort stays. And here is the kicker. This is not normal. Disney has not seen crowd levels dip this low since the thick of the pandemic, and these price slashes make it clear they are determined to bring guests back. Now, before we dive deeper, let us set the scene. According to reports from parkplace.com, family vacations to Disney World are dropping in cost by over $1,000 for 2026. That kind of reduction is unheard of in Orlando. Disney rarely hands out flat rate discounts, especially at their deluxe resorts, unless there is genuine urgency. But here we are, seeing $250 off per night at some of their top-tier properties. That is not a small nudge. It is Disney throwing out the lifeline to fill empty rooms. Travel sites like Notes from Neverland and Blog Mickey confirm the trend, labeling this a discount alert. But these deals are not just limited to spring 2026. Sure, Disney is officially advertising them as spring savings, but look closely at the dates, February 22nd through July 25th. Let us be real, that is not just spring. That covers late winter, the entire spring season, and most of summer. The breakdown is big news too. Regular vacationers can expect 25% off rooms, while annual pass holders score up to 35% off, and Florida residents get around 30%. Combine that with bundled 4-night, 4-day room and ticket packages, and suddenly the average family trip is hundreds, if not thousands, cheaper than before. So what is happening here? Disney knows attendance is sliding in ways they cannot ignore, and slashing hotel rates is their boldest strategy to turn the tide. For guests, it is the opportunity of a lifetime, luxury resorts at bargain prices. For Disney, it is a sign they are working harder than ever to keep the magic alive in a time when fewer families are showing up. You are spot on. This is exactly the kind of red flag we talked about earlier. When Disney starts rolling out sweeping discounts, it usually signals that demand has dropped harder than they ever expected. And now, with these latest deals, the picture is even clearer. Here is what is happening. Disney is not just slashing prices for a few select dates. These new savings run most Sundays through Thursdays starting January 4th, all the way up to late February, before the big spring window even begins. When you piece that together with the already announced offers through late July, what you actually get is a massive 7-month stretch of discounts in 2026. Fridays and Saturdays are excluded. But that lines up perfectly with DVC, Disney Vacation Club patterns, where point costs skyrocket on weekends. Disney is protecting those high-demand days while practically giving away weekdays. That tells you something. They are struggling to fill weekday rooms in ways we have not seen before. And the proof is in the data. On Thrillata.com, Disney World just recorded a wait factor of 0, 2 days in a row. That is almost unheard of. Out of more than 2,300 tracked days, those dates rank at the very bottom, even lower than closure days from hurricanes or the pandemic. Attendance numbers back this up too. October is starting with some of the sharpest declines we have seen. Magic Kingdom down 5%, Epcot plummeting 32%, Hollywood Studios off by 24%. And Animal Kingdom, brace yourself. Attendance has dropped 45% compared to the same time last year. That is not a dip. That is a free fall. So what does Disney do? They cut hotel rates hard. Take the Grand Floridian, for example. Rooms there normally start around $600 a night, but a $250 nightly discount shaves off nearly half the price. That is practically a 40% markdown on their flagship property, something Disney has never had to do at this scale. And if that is true at the top end, you can imagine the percentage cuts at moderate and value resorts are even deeper. Now, here is the strategy behind it. Disney is less worried about the hotel profit right now. They are trying to shore up occupancy rates, to get people through the gates, sleeping in the resorts, eating at the restaurants, and most importantly, buying inside the parks. Once you are there, Disney banks on you paying premium prices for food, drinks, Genie Plus upgrades, lightning lanes, and merch. The hotel discount is just bait. They expect to claw the money back once families are inside the bubble. But here is the bigger question. What does this mean for Disney's quarterly reports? If attendance keeps sliding at this rate, their theme park revenue is going to take a huge hit. Discounting is a bandage, not a cure. It might boost short-term occupancy, but it also signals to Wall Street and fans alike that Disney is facing a demand problem they cannot ignore. And honestly, for longtime Disney watchers, this is unprecedented. We have seen special offers, sure. We have seen seasonal deals. But nearly 7 months of across-the-board markdowns at this scale? That has never happened before. It feels like we are looking at a turning point for Disney's theme park business. You are absolutely right, this is unprecedented. A 7-month stretch of discounts, paired with scenes of half-empty resorts and walk-on rides in the middle of the afternoon, paints a picture Disney does not want to admit publicly. What you are describing at the Grand Floridian says it all. The lobby is under heavy refurbishment, sections are blocked off, and yet they are still charging luxury prices. Normally that resort would be bustling even during slower months, but right now? Sparse crowds, quiet hallways, and an atmosphere that feels more like an off-season hotel than Disney's crown jewel. And the timing could not be more telling. October should be a strong month with food and wine at Epcot and Halloween crowds at Magic Kingdom. Yet Epcot feels hollow, with an undecorated Communicore hall, and Magic Kingdom is a maze of construction barriers. You mentioned those walls running from Haunted Mansion to Big Thunder, covering what used to be Rivers of America. That is nearly a 200 feet of fencing. 4 to 5 football fields worth of do not enter. Instead of immersive theming, guests are staring at plywood walls, and it kills the magic. Even more shocking is when you compare crowd levels to what they looked like during the pandemic. Back in 2020 and early 2021, when capacity was strictly limited, the parks felt eerily empty. But at least there was a reason. Now, in 2025 heading into 2026, there is no capacity cap, no health restrictions, and yet the same ghost town vibe is creeping in. Mid-afternoon at Magic Kingdom, prime time for parades, food lines, and shoulder-to-shoulder foot traffic, and you captured a shot with barely anyone walking the hub. The only cluster of people was around the Dapper Dans, and that is because there was simply nothing else drawing attention. This is why those discounts feel so desperate. They are not just timed for slower periods. They include spring break, traditionally the second busiest time of the year for Disney World. For Disney to roll spring break into their markdown window is unheard of. That is supposed to be a cash cow period, when hotel rooms are full at premium prices and families flood the parks no matter what. For Disney to concede that even spring break will need discounts is the clearest proof that attendance problems are deeper than anyone realized. And critics can say what they want, that the parks are fine, that this is overblown, but anyone walking through them can see the truth. Guest reports, live photos, and direct experiences do not lie. It looks and feels eerily close to the pandemic reopening days, when Disney was running a park built for tens of thousands with just a few scattered guests wandering through. The construction walls only make the emptiness worse. When large chunks of the park are blocked off, it amplifies the sense that guests are paying full price for a fraction of the experience. Families save up for years to see iconic views, but right now, much of that postcard Disney is hidden behind bland green barriers. The big picture? Disney is bleeding in terms of crowd levels. They are offering discounts to boost occupancy, but the in-park experience is dominated by closures, construction, and missing magic. Guests notice, word spreads, and fewer people feel like it is worth the trip. That cycle forces Disney to drop prices further, hoping to lure people back, but in doing so, they risk cheapening the brand that once thrived on exclusivity and premium experiences. What you are describing is the perfect storm of Disney's own making, and now they are scrambling to fix it with discounts so extreme. It feels like desperation. The photos from today tell the whole story. Wide open walkways in the middle of the afternoon, barely any guests in the hub, and cast members standing around with nobody to serve. For longtime Disney fans, that sight is shocking. For locals, it may even feel like a throwback to the pandemic days, when crowds were intentionally capped. But now, this emptiness is not intentional. It is demand collapsing. And here is the irony. If you are a local and you do not mind the construction walls, right now might actually be the best time in years to visit. No waits, no need for Lightning Lane, no need to shell out for Genie Plus. But for families flying in from out of state, it is a different story. Imagine paying premium prices for resorts, only to find yourself surrounded by plywood walls and blocked-off experiences. Disney is trying to cover this gap by dropping room rates. But the bigger picture is clear. They priced out the middle-class families who were the backbone of the company. The comparison to Hobby Lobby is actually spot on. Disney is acting like a store that just keeps something half off year-round, not because they want to, but because they have no choice. For decades, the company thrived on exclusivity, with prices going up steadily and still keeping demand strong. But you cannot keep raising costs while letting the experience decay. Chipped paint, broken effects, endless construction, and long waits for rides that used to run smoothly. At some point, families decide it is not worth the money, and that point looks like it has already arrived. Kevin's take nailed the heart of the problem. Disney forgot who built their empire. The blue-collar family, the middle-class parents saving for years to bring their kids, the guests who filled the parks every summer, those people have been priced out. And now Disney is stunned to see that luxury pricing with cutback experiences does not magically attract endless crowds. Who knew? Well, apparently not Bob Iger, and that is why the schadenfreude feels so strong. Disney is learning a very public, very painful lesson. They have leaned too hard into nickel and diming, too hard into adult-focused offerings, too hard into price hikes without quality. And now, the very thing they never thought would happen, empty parks, is staring them in the face. The "how many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?" SpongeBob meme fits perfectly. Here is where it gets worse. The hotel discounts are bait. Disney is hoping to lure people back with $250 nightly cuts, then make it all up once they are inside. But look at what is coming. Daily ticket prices that could push $300 per person by 2026, when you factor in Lightning Lane add-ons, taxes, and fees. A family of 4 could be paying over $1,200 just to get into the park for one day, not counting food, souvenirs, or extras. That strategy may keep short-term revenue afloat, but it risks killing the long-term loyalty Disney once had. So here we are, nearly 7 months of discounts on the horizon, empty parks in October, and construction walls choking off the magic. Disney's plan is clear: slash prices at the front end to fill rooms, then crank up every possible upcharge once guests are trapped inside the bubble. The question is whether guests will play along, or whether the cheap hotel expensive park model will backfire too. Exactly, that is the heart of this whole mess. For the average American family outside Florida, Disney is drifting out of reach. You hit it perfectly. The value proposition is gone. If you are going to spend thousands of dollars on flights, hotels, tickets, and food, the question becomes, am I really getting my money's worth? And right now, with bare walkways, closed-off attractions, and construction walls dominating the view, the answer for many is no. Your Epic Universe example is telling. Universal's new park was packed wall to wall, even with 3-hour wait times. People still showed up because they felt they were getting something fresh, exciting, and worth the cost. Disney, on the other hand, is charging more than ever while giving less than ever. And now the footage makes it painfully clear. The emptiness is not just exaggerated internet talk, it is happening. That contrast with Universal is brutal, and Disney knows it. The emotional side of this cannot be understated either. For decades, families built their memories around Disney World. Parents saved up, kids grew up with the magic, grandparents tagged along for once-in-a-lifetime trips. There was an emotional connection. Going to Disney felt like a rite of passage for middle America. And now, that bond is breaking. People are heartbroken to see a park they loved turned into something unrecognizable. And the empty pathways drive the point home more than words ever could. And you are right, discounting hotels is not the full solution. If admission, food, and add-ons keep skyrocketing, families are still priced out. Disney can lure people into resorts with $250 nightly discounts, but if the daily in-park spend for a family of 4 runs $1,200, it cancels out the savings. That is not sustainable. So the big looming question is the one you asked. Who exactly is Disney's target market? Because right now, it does not look like they even know. Middle-class America, the backbone of their business for generations, cannot afford it. Wealthy families? Sure, but many of them are traveling internationally, to places like Europe, Asia, or Monaco, instead of spending a fortune on Orlando. Locals with pixie dust passes? Yes, but those are budget-friendly for residents, not the billion-dollar tourists Disney relies on. It is a bizarre dynamic. Floridians can go almost casually, while out-of-state families are practically shut out. Financial analysts are asking the same thing. If Disney is unaffordable for middle America and not prestigious enough for the global elite, who is left? That uncertainty is dangerous for a company that once had its brand rooted in being the every family vacation. So here is the sad reality. Disney may be heading toward an identity crisis. They cannot decide if they are a luxury product for the wealthy, a nostalgic staple for middle America, or a local's hangout spot. And until they figure that out, the discounts, the construction, and the empty walkways are going to keep raising the same haunting question. Who is Disney World even for anymore? For Florida residents, Disney can still feel somewhat affordable, thanks to special perks like the Pixie Dust Pass, which allows locals to pay as little as $26 a month and visit frequently. For them, the parks become an accessible part of everyday life, almost like a neighborhood entertainment hub. But for families traveling from out of state, the reality is entirely different. Once airfare, hotel accommodations, meals, park tickets, Genie Plus or Lightning Lane add-ons, and transportation are factored in, a single week-long trip can easily climb into the $8,000 to $10,000 range. For middle-class families, this often means years of saving for what is supposed to be a once-in-a-lifetime vacation. When they arrive, however, many are met with construction walls, longer wait times, and constant upcharges, leaving them frustrated and questioning whether the experience matches the enormous cost. This divide has created a strange dynamic within the parks themselves. Locals of all income levels mingling with the ultra-wealthy, while many middle Americans are effectively priced out. The question then becomes, who exactly is Disney's target audience? If the company is aiming for everyday families, the current pricing contradicts that vision. If they are catering to the global elite, then Disney risks losing the family-friendly identity that made it iconic in the first place. That identity crisis is why fans, analysts, and longtime park-goers alike are calling this a turning point in the company's history.